Good morning, students. Welcome to the contact-based class for assignment and examination contact-based class for the year 2022. This is a subject for the certificate in policing, investigative principles A. I'm your tutor. My details are as follows. My name is Jeffness Mbako. My qualification is a National Diploma in Policing, Level 6, Certificate in Policing, Level 5, Certificate in Basic Police Training at Ruben Danger Ashipala Police Training Center, a Certificate in Gender-Based Violence course at Israel Patlik Ayambo Police College. My contact details are as follows. That is 081-3434-522. Or alternatively, you can call me at 085-3434-522. My email account is jeffnessmbako@gmail.com. Learners, you are therefore urged to contact me anytime as from 16:30 to 19:30. That is weekdays, telephonically or email. This is the table of the content. Is therefore an introduction, learning outcome of the module, aims of the contact class, overview of the module's content, the structure of the assignment, and examination papers, and then assessments. I therefore want to invite you to this contact-based class. That is my introduction. Dear students, welcome to assignment and examination-based contact class for investigative principle A. The aims of these modules are to enable students to develop the following theoretical understanding, values, and competencies, explain the general guidelines of investigation, and the importance of witness statements. You are therefore also urged to describe the different forms of evidence, different search methods. You are also therefore urged to examine the collection of evidence at the scene. The other one is therefore to examine elements related to the chain of custody form, analyze and packaging of evidence and handling thereof, discuss the process of investigative interviewing. Aims of the contact class, which learners are supposed to be enlightened on, is to provide guidance to students in preparation for assignment and examination, to highlight the structure of the assignment and the examination question papers, to highlight type of questions to be expected in both assignment and examinations, to explain the calculations of the continuous assessment, the examination marks, and awarding of final marks, to provide a brief elaborative perspective of the content of the module. The learning outcomes of the module are as follows, or what the learners are expected to know, is to describe the general guidelines of the investigation and the importance of the witness statements. The second one is to describe the different forms of evidence. The third one is to discuss the different search methods. The fourth one is to describe the collection of evidence. The fifth one is to describe the elements related to the chain of custody form. The sixth one is to discuss the packaging of evidence and the handling thereof. And then the seventh one is the process of investigative interviewing. Firstly, we have to describe what criminal investigation is. Criminal investigation is an applied science that involves the study of facts that are then used to inform criminal trials. A complete criminal investigation can include searching, interviews, interrogations, investigation collection, preservation, and various methods of investigation. Modern days criminal investigations commonly employ many modern scientific techniques known as collective as forensic science. Importance of witness statements. These are very important. Students, take note of this. Available to refresh the witness memory when testifying in court. It therefore also gives direction to the testimony of the witness in court. Therefore also able to submit proper documents, which is normally quality checked when the witness is an expert. The other one is therefore it enhances the production due to the fact that a statement could be prima facie evidence and the expert witness does not have to appear in court. It also enhances the court process as the statement needs to be submitted to the defense within 14 days before the court date. It provides direction regarding the chain of custody, that is Article 212, subsection 8A of the Criminal Procedure Act. Relevant information is recorded, which is also very important, could be utilized anytime during the investigation process. We therefore come to the evidence and search methods. Students therefore need to give a brief or a detailed definition of what evidence is. Evidence is anything that is properly admissible in court, that will aid the function of criminal proceedings in establishing guilt or innocence. Investigation is the means by which facts are proved in a lawsuit. The following serves as a summary, that is now for evidence. Evidence includes written material such as contracts, deeds, verbal testimony, and the objects such as guns and knives, which a court allows in determining if something disputed in court is a fact. Evidence includes all means by which the truth of an alleged fact is submitted to scrutiny. Evidence is the means of providing proof of something. It may be oral or in writing by means of a document or through objects which we call real evidence. Different forms of investigation, of evidence. We have approximately 6 or 7. The first one is therefore oral evidence. Evidence is usually presented orally, which is under oath in the presence of the public and the parties to the case, and is subject to examination. Real evidence consists of things which can be examined by the court as means of proof. Real evidence refers to those exhibits which are shown in court, such as bloodstain on a murder weapon or stolen goods. Documentary evidence. It refers to any document that is presented as evidence. There are 3 basic rules which can be obeyed before a court can rely on the documentary evidence. The contents of the documents can be relevant to the facts in issue. The authenticity of the documents can be proved. The original documents can be subjected or submitted. Different forms of evidence is therefore continuing. It's therefore computer-generated evidence, which is one of them. Computer printouts are copies of original document, which are stored in electronic form or disk, and is sometimes the best available evidence which can be found. There is therefore video and audio recording, as I'm basically doing. It was held in S. Rubing in 1986, subsection 4 of the South African Act 117, subsection 17. that there is no difference between video and audio tapes. It was also decided that both these types are documentary evidence. In the S. Mupilo in 1986, subsection 3, again of the South African Act 485, subsection E, the court ruled that the video film is not a document and that the video type recordings substitute to real evidence. The photos and films may be documentary or real evidence. When they are presented because they were stolen, they are real evidence. When a photo is presented to prove what was recorded by the camera, it can then amount to documentary evidence. We therefore goes to the different types of search methods. This is only specifically to the scenarios in how such methods are being conducted and where it's being conducted. The first one is the will thought method. This method can be used in large open areas or spaces. The spiral method, this can be used in small areas such as a room. A zone, this can also, it is useful inside houses as they are in blocks or in a four-cornered site. It's so easier for us to conduct that investigation. Strip method, this method can be used inside or outside a house. So either inside the house or outside the yard of the house, or either in the field. The roster method, this method can be used both indoors or outdoors. More details of these search methods needs to be alluded to you guys, so you just have to look in your manual and then familiarize yourself, as this is just a contact-based class. Collection of evidence. The CSO, which is the crime scene officer, and then the chain of custody. When the crime scene officer firstly arrives at the scene or at the crime scene officer should always stop and carefully observe the entire scene before anything else. Once the scene of crime has made his observations, he then can proceed to the other side of the scene. It's not enough to just gather the evidence from the scene. The crime scene officer has to evaluate what evidence is telling him, or what is there at the scene. The crime scene officers must always remember to maintain the chain of custody from any time of evidence which is found at the time at the scene or presented before court. There must be clear chain of custody. That is now how the evidence was collected up to the evidence proceeded to court. So this whole process must be it must be in a line, which whoever found the evidence, who collected it, who processed it, and so on. So basically, this is a chain of custody which is supposed not to be broken. It must be entered as such. Collection of evidence continue. Working with exhibits. During the investigation, the investigator must keep the following in mind when working with exhibits. There are only 4 points. Limit the number of individuals handling the evidence, as they can contaminate the evidence. Confirm that all names, identification numbers, dates are listed on the chain of custody documents. Very important. Ensure that all evidence packaging is properly sealed and marked prior to submission. This is actually for the evidence not to be contaminated or not to be to be spoiled by any individual. Obtain a signed or otherwise secure receipts for transfer of evidence. We therefore continue with collection of evidence overview. Details listed on the chain of custody form. What is supposed to be displayed, or what the chain of custody form supposed to contain. A description of the evidence, and its container, the specific recovery location of the evidence supposed to be placed or must be sealed on that form, or it must be indicated on the form. The case numbers, the dates and the time it was collected, who collected it, whether or not the evidence container was sealed upon transfer to another individual, it's supposed to be indicated, who received the evidence, the dates and times of any evidence transfer, who delivered the evidence, and then the final disposition of the evidence. So that whole list supposed to indicate all that information which is on the chain of custody form. Packaging and handling of evidence. As I said, it's a very, very important information for us to take note. As tutors, we usually want to check how students understand the content of the subject. Keep the chain of custody short. When processing crime scenes, you will encounter many different types of evidence. Carefully collect the identified items and then place them in an appropriate package to be sent to the laboratory. Label each package with a proper case number and keep a clear record of all steps performed. A key point to remember is to keep the chain of custody as short as possible. Fewer people who handle the evidence, the fewer people will have to go to court to testify. Storage of evidence. The following general hints can be of great value. Make sure that evidence is inventoried in line with departmental policies and procedures. Store evidence at all times in a secure area, which is away from temperature and humidity extremes. It must be protected from magnetic sources, moisture, dust, and other harmful particles or contaminants. Measures must be taken to prevent exhibits from getting mixed up. Avoid contamination. Exhibits must be marked properly. No identification marks must be made on the exhibits themselves, as these can influence the evidential value thereof. Tie-on labels must be used for this purpose. Packaging and handling of evidence therefore continue. Use an ink or a ballpoint pen when particulars of exhibits are noted. Suitable containers must be used for the safekeeping of exhibits. Holders of the containing liquids must be properly corked or sealed. Fragile articles must be packed with care. Sufficient shock-resistant material must be used to prevent damage. Ammunition or discharged bullets or heads or cartridge cases must be protected from changes in condition. These objects must be conserved in toilet paper. Damaged or polluted exhibits must be protected against further degeneration. Exhibits must not be exposed to elements. Packaging and handling of evidence continue. Handling of evidence. Steps in handling of evidence or exhibits after it has been recognized. This is what's supposed to be done when handling with evidence. And it starts with the first point, which is protection. This is simple degradation or bacterial contamination. So we have to protect or the evidence. Documentation. We have to document them or to put to list them in a form where it is indicated or it's how it was collected or how it has been handled. Collection and packaging and marking of the evidence. Preservation before delivering it to the laboratory or to the lab. Identification, comparison, and then individualization, which will be discussed later on once again. Dispossession and therefore reconstruction. Definition of investigation and interviewing. These are very important aspects of investigative principle course, where a student needs to know what investigation is and what interview is, where one has to give differences between the two. Investigation can be defined as the discovery of relevant facts, the marking of interfaces of references from these facts, and the reconstruction of the scene or of the crime scene or incident. The identification and apprehension of the offender, the preparation of the case for prosecution and trial of suspects. Investigation also refers to the activity directed to identification and apprehension of alleged criminals and accumulation and preservation of evidence regarding the alleged crimes. What is therefore interview? Interview is to talk to people and to question them to gather specific information, but to be successful in interviewing, the investigator should plan properly. The module overview therefore continue. These are very important definitions which the students needs to know, and they are obviously always present in most of our question papers where we are testing the students on the knowledge of these certain aspects. We therefore start with what a witness is. A witness is a person who has seen or can give the first-hand evidence of some event. It can either be a murder scene or an accident, where those are the witnesses or statements supposed to be obtained from them. We therefore goes along again. A witness is a person or thing or object giving or observing or serving as evidence. So that is a witness. A suspect refers to any individual within the scope of the case who has not yet been cleared by the investigation. So that is basically in brief what a suspect is. A plan refers to a detailed scheme or method that will be followed when conducting an interview. Statement. A statement is a written communication of facts as observed by the deponent in the form of a statement which can be supplied to the court of law. The facts can be expressed verbally or either in writing. I believe that is straightforward. It's a statement where the witness usually submit to court on what happened on a certain occasion, or at the accident or crime scene. The module overview therefore continue. Purpose of interviewing is as follows. Is therefore to test information and facts gathered, gather information, disprove the alibi of the suspect, and therefore to look for a motive for the crime. The objectives of interviewing are as follows. Identification of the crime or incident committed, gathering of evidence to prove the crime under investigation, individualize the crime, arrest the suspect, retrieving stolen property, getting back the stolen property which was therefore stolen. The structure of the assignment and then the question papers. We therefore start with the assignment. This is basically what you can you can get in assignment or how it's structured. The assignment is out of 120 marks and consisting of 6 questions. That is just an example of an assignment. Not all of them are like that, but then only some. The first question is therefore of multiple choice, which is true or false questions, usually ranging from 10 marks. The second question is usually structured with questions where a student need to name, compare certain questions and all that, which is also ranging up to 20 marks. Question 3 is structured questions where one needs to explain and describe, which is also ranging up to approximately 30 marks. Question 4 is structured questions, which is of an example of definitions and differentiations or differentiating certain terms. Then the 5th is structured questions, where one needs to discuss and all that, which is ranging up to 30 marks also. Then the 6th is therefore a problem type question. This is a very powerful question which is testing the students how to analyze and therefore show the interest or showing to us how they understand the contents, which is usually the marks of 10. That is now in the question paper, in the assignment, just to test how students understand the content of the investigative principle A subject. Examination. The examination paper is also out of 120 marks, consisting of 5 questions. Question 1 is usually of multiple choice, which is a true or false, which is ranging up to 20 marks. Question 2 is a structured questions, where list, name, and compare of questions are coming in, which is ranging up to 35 marks. Question 3 is structured questions, where terms like explain, describe is also coming in, just for us to test the students if they really understand, which is ranging up to 30 marks. The 4th is therefore structured questions, where the students need to define and then differentiate the questions, which is also ranging up to 20 marks. Question 5 is structured questions, where discuss and advise and all those things are coming in. Those are the terms which we are going to use those are the strong points where we want to test your knowledge. Students, you are therefore urged to always question all these questions as they are compulsory. We notice the students usually used to skip some questions where you are really losing a lot of marks. Assessments and calculation of marks. Assessments therefore consists of CA and then the examination. This is the calculations of how we are doing it. A final pass mark of 50% is required for a student to pass, calculated by 60% of the examination, marked 40 of the continuous assessment marks. I will explain to you as follows. The assignment continuous, usually a student needs to pass with a 50 mark for you to pass your examination or to pass your assignment. An examination mark of 50 is also needed for the student to pass. Therefore, I will give an example. For example, you scored a 50 mark or you got 50 out of your question paper or out of your assignment. We therefore multiply it with 40%, which will give us 20. And then you go for the examination mark, which is 50. You therefore multiply it with 60, which will also therefore give us a 30. Basically, that is a 20 with a 30, which you add, which will give you a final mark of 50, whereby one will have to pass his examination. The setting and marking of the examination papers are moderated. Therefore, after the tutor has marked the question paper, it therefore goes to the moderator to give a final mark of that certain question, of that certain question paper for the student to pass. In conclusion, I have come to the end of my presentation. However, students, take note that the scope of this module is not limited to the contents covered therein. Therefore, I am urging students to familiarize yourself with the study guide of the Investigative Principle A and other recommended materials. I'm urging you guys to avoid waiting until too late to prepare for your examination and to do your assignments on time in order to have enough time to prove and read and correct possible minor mistakes. I wish you all the best with your studies at IUL. Do not hesitate to contact me as to the times which I have indicated if you need any assistance related to this module. I therefore thank you.